going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today we want to talk about Grady Jarrett, defensive lineman of the Chicago Bears, and his most impactful performance in his Bears career so far in Week 11 against the Minnesota Vikings. And like I said, guys, in the intro today is going to be all about Grady Jarrett, the veteran defensive lineman for the Chicago Bears, diving into his all-22. But before we want to do that real quick, for the Bears win against the Minnesota Vikings, 19-17 was the final score, and obviously not a pretty win once again. But by the end of the day, the Bears are 7-3 and lead the NFC North now, with the Detroit Lions losing to the Philadelphia Eagles last night. So obviously a big position right now that the Chicago Bears are in. And even though I didn't think all phases played particularly well, I think Caleb Williams did pretty good after a couple of missed throws early on in the game. The run game settled in, and also the special teams came through clutch by the end with that field goal kick and that big kick return for Devin Duvernay as well. And then the Chicago Bears defense had a pretty solid day overall, but obviously a stinker there at the end when they allowed that touchdown to happen that easily, going into prevent defense mode. So I didn't love seeing that. But I was thinking about the game, thinking who had an impact, and Grady Jarrett was one of the players, or the few players that came to my mind immediately while watching the game, and that wanted me to go into the all-22 film room and actually check out his tape in detail and break it down to you guys. And in my opinion, this was the best game of his Bears career, and the one game we've been looking for since his arrival here in Chicago. So today we're going to get into the all-22 and look at how did he look in the game tape and what to expect from him moving forward for the hot stretch of the year playing for the playoffs. Before we want to do that, though, we're going to get into the stats real quick against the Vikings. Grady Jarrett played overall 39 snaps, had 2 tackles, and 29 pass rush snaps, with 3 quarterback pressures recorded by him in that game, which is a quarterback pressure percentage of 10.3%, which is second highest all year. He had only a higher one against the Detroit Lions, but that game was not as good as this one, as you'll see today. And the interesting thing here is, if we want to compare that to the whole season for him, in this game he recorded a third of the pressures that he had in comparison to the previous 6 games. And for the entire year he had a pressure percentage of 4.9%, which is by far the lowest of his career. So it was great seeing him bounce back against Minnesota in a very big, important division win here in the Vikings territory. So with that being said, let's move on and get into the film room and look at his pass rush as well as run defense abilities against Minnesota. So starting off with his pass rush, like I said, his best performance, especially pass rush performance in a Chicago Bears uniform, that is the Grady Jarrett I expected going to see coming into the season after watching his tape with the Atlanta Falcons. One big plus I want to mention early on, the pass rush power, man. He's consistently pushing back the guards into McCarthy's lap in this game, had a great bull rush to work with, and really dominated the trenches for the majority of the game. I also liked his usage of his swim moves that he really has mastered as a pass rush move. He had a lot of vertical cells and then a great change of direction, which was good to see after he was still lingering with a knee injury throughout this season. So it was great to see him change direction quickly and getting back to his old self in this game. Also, he looked good on one stunt, getting a hit on J.J. McCarthy on that Kevin Byard interception. So having a big impact on that play too for the game. And as we're talking about it, let's get into a couple of examples for Grady Jarrett in this game for his pass rush. One where he is at 3 technique against Will Freeze, which is one of the big free agent signings for the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. In general, I have to say this is one of the better offensive lines the Bears have faced and will face all season long. It's a really good unit, and Will Freeze is one of these guys that they put a lot of trust into and expect to be a really good player for them for a long time, as the Vikings tried to sell some vertical passing game running a play action variation of their duo run game, taking a shot on a Yankee concept. So they're selling the duo run on play action here, and the right guard in this situation oversets to Grady Jarrett, and Grady Jarrett is able to, with good eyes, win quickly here the first level. And then you have the running back who helps out after the play action sell, and you can see Grady Jarrett once again keep working, showing that great power of his on that swim move, just moving away the running back. That's no match for him in in the backfield here and gets past him really quickly too. And while that happens, the right guard, Will Freeze, scrambles back and recovers a little bit. But for Grady Jarrett, that's what I love about this rep. Big time effort here, right? He beats him quickly, first of all, because he oversets. Then he beats the running back. Freeze recovers, and then he keeps charging at him and bull rushes him back into the quarterback here and forces JJ McCarthy to make a bad off-platform throw that almost is intercepted. Unfortunately, Tyreek and Jaquan Brisker just crash into each other a little bit, and none of them can pick it off. But that's still a big play by Grady Jarrett, beating two defenders multiple times in one rep and making sure that is a incompletion or a near interception. So a great rep to start off his pass rush impact in this game. And then next we want to look at another situation where he's at 3 technique once again. This time the Bears in a muck front, which they like a lot, just showing a lot of bodies, and then they play normal zone out of it. This is the same exact example I just talked about. So they all drop out and they rush with their 4 down original linemen. And again, against number 76, Will Freeze, the right guard, a great rep where he has a good get off the line, looks explosive. So again, a good indicator for him being back to full health. And then he shows great hand placement on the exposed chest of the lineman. And this is just a picture perfect bull rush rep, man. We're talking about power, power, power. You see the pop of his hands with a powerful, heavy punch, and he drives back the guard all the way into the quarterback's face. Again, like before, affecting the timing of the quarterback, forcing an incompletion on this play. So another big impact win here, just winning with pure power, saying I'm stronger than you, driving their multi-million guard back into McCarthy's lap and forcing another big time incompletion, having an impact beyond the stat sheet here. So loved seeing that rep by Grady Jarrett as well. And then overall for his pass rush, the story of the day simply was pressure applied, completions denied, really good stuff from the vet. And I loved seeing him improve so much from the previous weeks in terms of pass rush. And then quickly on to category 2 for the day, talking about his run defense now. Obviously the second big aspect we need to look at, and one big plus I mentioned or saw in the run defense with him was his ability to hold gaps, especially against wide zone, which the Vikings ran quite a lot in this game. He showed the great ability to be strong at the point of attack and move with the gap. With wide zone, there's obviously a lot of movement with the offensive lineman, and Grady did a great job of holding the gap while also moving with the gap and not getting pushed backwards, and did his assignment really well in this game. Also, I really liked his power against double teams. That was probably the most impressive part against the run for him this game. So if we want to get into a couple of examples, one I want to show you guys is where the Vikings are running duo out of double tight. So they got number 87 and 84 respectively on one side of the offensive line attached to the offensive line, and they run duo. So we got a double team on Austin Booker here to CJ Gardner-Johnson, a double on Ford to number 44 Noah Sewell, and then also a double on Grady Jarrett to Tremaine Edmonds, and then a backside block on number 90 Dominique Robinson by the backside tight end here. And that double team on Grady Jarrett is obviously the one we want to focus at right now, with Will Freeze and Brian O'Neill on the double team, two very powerful players, right? And Grady Jarrett in that situation with a perfect rep to show his power against the run game. Power off the line immediately as he gets double teamed by these two powerful linemen, and he holds the line of scrimmage completely by using a hip toss technique here, just bending his knee here and keeping a low base and a strong attack against the initial double team here. And then as he works through that double team, he has still really good eyes, works through all that trash, and then sheds off in the last second and makes a big tackle on Aaron Jones to limit the damage here on this play. So that was very impressive, just showing his ability to hold the line against double teams, split it, and then still make a tackle against the run. So loved seeing that. And then for the second example that we want to look at today, this time the formation for the Vikings, they have two tight ends still in the game, so they're still in 12 personnel, but this time they put them in a wing position, so both of them on one side of the offensive line helping out in the run game. And this time the Vikings run a inside zone to the left, so we got a solo block on Austin Booker, Grady Jarrett. We got the center moving up to Tremaine Edmonds immediately. You got a single block on Jonathan Ford, number 96 picks for the Bears, you got a right tackle, the right tackle O'Neal moving up to Noah Sewell immediately, and then you have on the backside number 93 Joe Tryon-Shoyinka being doubled by the two tight ends. And this is a great start for Grady Jarrett here, as he displays again good strength at the start to hold the line of scrimmage once again, and then displayed really great eyes discipline here in this play. Very patient, seeing the backfield and reading the running back's direction, and then he recognizes that it will be a inside hitting play, right? We're running in between the tackles, or to be specific, even in between the guards here on inside zone, and he shows great power again, turning the guard all the way without being pushed back to the front side of the play, being able to, or putting himself in a position to even make a play. And that's very impressive because the guard had the perfect positioning on this play, basically blocking Grady Jarrett out, doesn't have to turn, but Grady Jarrett doesn't let that happen here and gets inside somehow, showing great power and explosiveness with his hands, and then one-armed slows down the running back to limit the gain. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a holding here by that left guard. Fortunately, it doesn't get called. Otherwise, it would have been maybe just a 3-yard gain instead of an 8-yard gain. But nonetheless, for Grady Jarrett personally, does his job and even more, and you gotta love it, man. He holds the gap. He's able to turn a offensive lineman, which is really strong one, their young rookie left guard, Jackson, I think his name is. So does a great job here, just limiting the gain, even though I would love our linebackers to be a little bit more downhill in the run game sometimes. But for Grady Jarrett, a great finish to the run blocking category. So overall, for the conclusion, how did Grady Jarrett look? First of all, I think this is the version everybody was waiting for him to finally turn that version on. He has struggled even this year a little bit with injuries after coming back last year of a ACL tear, I'm pretty sure it is. So that's obviously a little bit of a freak injury, to say the least, and it takes time to come back. And this year, he still was battling through a couple of knee issues. So that was obviously painful and not perfect for his start for his Bears career. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. He had struggles early on this year and did not look like his previous self with the Atlanta Falcons. But what I can say is that this game gave me a lot of hope for this signing moving on this season, and a healthy and up to speed Grady Jarrett would be a massive and big help for the Bears playoff push moving forward, just facing now more and more competitive opponents every single week. And he was definitely one of those key reasons why the Bears won this important game in division in the first place this week in week 11. So with that being said, guys, that's the end of today's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Grady Jarrett's performance against the Minnesota Vikings in week 11. Also, I would appreciate it, guys, if you just leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, but it supports me. And with that being said, guys, I see you guys soon, probably still this week, with another film breakdown about the Vikings game in week 11. So until then, and as always, guys, bear down.